In the shadows where truth and tales intertwine, we find the thrilling, the chilling, the downright spine-tingling. From the paranormal to the peculiar, every echo has a story. Dare to delve into the unexpected, the unexplained? Brace yourself, for you're about to embark on a journey where fear meets fascination. Stay tuned if you dare, for stories that will make your heart race and your mind ponder. Welcome to the realm of the eerie, the realm of the unknown. And remember, like and subscribe, if you dare. The wind whispered through the dense trees, carrying with it an unsettling chill that seemed to penetrate my very bones. Those words ring in my ears, a haunting echo of my past. I, Sergeant Turner, stood alone in the heart of the forest, enveloped by an oppressing silence unique to the wilderness at night. I had weathered many storms, faced many adversaries, but the horror that loomed in these woods was beyond any enemy I had ever encountered. My tale begins with a series of gruesome attacks on innocent hikers, limbs ripped apart, bodies so mutilated they were beyond recognition. The aftermath painted the picture of a monster, one that left behind only the chilling echoes of guttural growls and the terrified screams of its victims. Our town, once a tranquil haven, now lived in the shadow of this terror. My mission was clear: end this reign of horror. The responsibility weighed heavy on my shoulders, but I was resolute. I was an army man, after all, trained to face the harshest of circumstances. So I ventured deeper into the forest, the darkness closing in around me. Every rustle of the underbrush, every snap of a twig under my boots seemed amplified in the eerie silence. The moonlight, filtered through the tangled branches above, cast strange and distorted shapes around me. Guided only by the dim beam of my flashlight, I moved forward, my senses heightened, my heart pounding in my chest. As I ventured further into the unknown, I stumbled upon a makeshift campsite hidden beneath the gnarled branches of an ancient oak. Discarded cans and worn-out blankets told the tale of an outcast, a soul seeking refuge in the wilderness. I felt a pang of sympathy for the unseen dweller, but my duty urged me forward. I was there for a purpose that was bigger than any individual, any fear. The town was paralyzed with fear, and it fell upon me to bring an end to the reign of terror that plagued our peaceful community. I remember thinking to myself, steeling my resolve as I delved deeper into the heart of the forest, ready to face the unknown. Guided only by the dim beam of my flashlight, I stumbled upon a makeshift campsite, hidden beneath the gnarled branches of an ancient oak. The ghostly beam traced the outlines of scattered remnants of a life lived on the fringes. Discarded cans, ragged blankets, an old boot worn by time and weather. It was a sad tableau of a hermit's existence, isolated from the world in this secluded wilderness. My instincts told me that the inhabitant of this camp was not the predator I sought, but perhaps he might hold some clue to the mystery. As I surveyed the campsite, a rustle from the undergrowth caught my attention. A figure loomed out of the darkness, his face etched with lines of hardship and fear. His eyes held a wild desperation that mirrored the untamed wilderness around us. This was Old Jake, the solitary dweller of the woods. Old Jake's tales were those of a man haunted by a terror that roamed the forest at night. His voice trembled as he spoke of the fiend, a monstrous silhouette that moved with an uncanny swiftness, its form obscured by the night. He spoke of guttural growls that echoed through the silent woods, and of the creature's savage attacks on the unsuspecting hikers. Yet in his squalor, Old Jake had found an unlikely ally. The creature, it seemed, was repulsed by the stench that clung to him. The smells of decay and waste that permeated the campsite formed a barrier which the beast seemed reluctant to cross. It was an odd twist of fate that the very thing that isolated Old Jake from the world had become his protection against the lurking horror. His tale filled me with a strange mix of dread and wonder. The fear was palpable, yet there was a part of me that was intrigued by the mystery that shrouded this creature. With a sense of foreboding, I pressed on, guided by Old Jake towards the lair of this monstrous entity. His squalor, however, seemed to serve as a peculiar deterrent. The creature recoiled from the stench that clung to him, and so Old Jake had become an unwitting guardian of the woods. With a sense of reluctant camaraderie, Old Jake led me to the lair of the beast. We moved deeper into the forest, the underbrush growing denser with each step, the darkness more impenetrable. The air grew colder, heavy with an unseen dread that clung to us like a second skin. Our boots crunched over fallen leaves and twigs, the sound echoing in the eerie silence, a stark reminder of our intrusion into this ungodly domain. The forest around us seemed to close in, the gnarled trees standing as silent sentinels, their twisted branches reaching out like skeletal hands. The moon had disappeared behind a veil of clouds, leaving us alone with the oppressive dark. Our only guide was the narrow beam of my flashlight, a lonely island of light in an ocean of shadows. As we ventured further, the signs of the creature's presence were unmistakable. The trees bore deep gouges, as if marked by monstrous claws. The undergrowth was trampled, a path of destruction leading to the very heart of the forest. A chill ran down my spine as I realized we were on the threshold of the creature's lair. Emerging from the dense forest, we found ourselves in a clearing. At the far end, the mouth of a cavern yawned open, a gaping maw in the face of the earth. The sight sent a shiver through me, a primal instinct warning of danger. I could taste the stench of decay on the air, a nauseating melange of rot and death that seemed to permeate everything. Old Jake, his face pale under the stark beam of my flashlight, looked at me. His eyes held a warning, a silent plea to turn back. But we had come too far. We had to face the horror that lurked within. Stepping forward, we ventured into the cavern. The lair was a scene straight out of a nightmare. Bones littered the ground, remnants of the creature's gruesome feasts. The stench of decay was overpowering, a testament to the monstrosity that resided here. The beam of my flashlight swept over the grotesque tableau, illuminating the macabre details in stark relief. My flashlight illuminated a cavernous den, the stench of decay pervading the air. And then the truth revealed itself in the grotesque tableau before me. The scene was straight out of a nightmare, a bone-chilling display of the creature's monstrous nature. Bones, gnawed and stripped clean of flesh, were strewn across the cavern floor like discarded toys. The remnants of its victims painted a grim picture of the creature's insatiable hunger, a chilling testament to its savage brutality. But as the beam of my flashlight cut through the darkness, it fell upon a sight that froze me in my tracks. There, in the shadowy recesses of the cave, lay a figure. It was contorted in a way that no human or animal could naturally achieve, its gnarled limbs twisted at odd angles, and its features were grotesque, a horrifying distortion of nature's design. The creature's eyes flickered open, glowing with an eerie, unnatural light. They bore into me a chilling gaze that seemed to pierce my very soul. In that moment, I understood. This was no mere beast. Its malevolence was palpable, a darkness that seeped into the air around it, tainting the very atmosphere with its sinister presence. This creature, this entity, was something far removed from the natural world. It was an aberration, a supernatural monstrosity that had found a home amidst the trees and shadows of the forest. It was this entity that had been terrorizing the town, striking fear into the hearts of its inhabitants with its gruesome attacks. Old Jake's tales of a monstrous silhouette took on a new, terrifying significance. The entity's swift movements, its obscured form, all pointed to a supernatural being, a creature of darkness that lurked in the heart of the forest. The realization sent a shudder through me, a cold dread that settled deep in my bones. As my flashlight trembled in my grasp, the weight of the truth bore down on me. The horror old Jake spoke of was not a mere beast, a predator of the natural world. It was something far more sinister, a supernatural entity that had found refuge in the heart of the forest, and it was upon me, a retired army captain, to face this unearthly terror. With the entity's true nature revealed, I knew there was only one course of action. The horror that had been plaguing our town was not a mere beast but a supernatural entity, a creature that had crossed the boundaries of the natural world to impose its reign of terror. A plan began to form in my mind, a desperate gamble that relied on the peculiar deterrent that had kept old Jake safe. His squalor, the stench that clung to him, seemed to repel the creature. It was an unorthodox weapon, but it was the only one we had. With old Jake's reluctant agreement, we set our plan into motion. We gathered what we could from his campsite, filling bags with the detritus that embodied his existence. The smell was overwhelming, but we soldiered on, driven by the hope of restoring peace to our town. We approached the lair, the stench of old Jake's belongings serving as our shield. The creature stirred, its eyes flickering with an unnatural glow as it recoiled from the smell. I could see the fear in its eyes, a fear that mirrored the terror it had instilled in us. With a final determined push, we hurled the bags into the lair. The creature let out a guttural howl, an echo of the screams it had once elicited from its victims. It recoiled, shrinking back into the darkness of its lair, before finally retreating, banished by the very thing it had sought to prey upon. As the sun began to rise, painting the sky with hues of pink and gold, we emerged from the forest, weary but victorious. We had faced an unimaginable horror and emerged triumphant, our town now safe from the supernatural entity that once haunted it. And so the reign of the supernatural entity was brought to an end, its terror quelled by the unlikely alliance of a retired army captain and a hermit living in the woods. And so our tale of the campfire horrors comes to an end. Until next time, sleep tight. Before we part ways, dear viewers, remember to stay vigilant. The campfire horrors may have been extinguished for now, but the embers of the unknown always remain. As you lay down to sleep tonight, don't forget the lessons from our tale. Safety is but a fleeting moment in a world of unseen. So if you've enjoyed this journey into the abyss, don't forget to ring that bell and smash that like button. Do it before the thing under your bed decides to pay you a visit. Oh, and keep those night lights on. You never know what might be lurking in the dark. Thank you for embarking on this terrifying adventure with us, until our paths cross again in another tale of the unknown. Goodbye and sweet dreams, if you can.